Hey, this is Tyrone at Spectrum Digital Support Team, and this evening I'll be your instructor, kind of going through the design worksheet process from start to finish, from getting an LOA, getting a proposal, what to check on, what to check for, what we need to make sure of before we proceed with the design call, preparations before the design call to do. If you're watching this video, more than likely you're new to the team, in which case, welcome to Spectrum Digital. And the thing with design calls is um, you need to be a person. What I mean is, yeah, sure, we're a company and we're professionals, which is very important. But as well, we don't want to be robotic when talking to customers during a design call. We want to show them that we're people. We could talk. We could be friendly. It makes them more open and more willing to talk. Sometimes they need to think, but if you're too formal with them, they feel this pressure to give an answer right away, to make sure you ask them one question, they should have the answer. Sometimes they feel like that. So be nice, be friendly, and keep in mind this design sheet that we're going to go through right now, the way I'm going to show you is my method of doing it, not necessarily yours. Everyone has their own method of doing a design call, what you feel comfortable with. Because if what I'm doing, what I'm about to show you right now, you don't feel comfortable with it, you're not going to perform well during a design call. It's just how it is. So you need to find what's your comfort zone inside that professional barrier and use it. So without lengthening or prolonging this intro, let's get started. So uh, as well as watching this video is assuming that you have access to our email, the support email. So a new order would come in. If you don't have access to that email and you're just watching this video to kind of get a feel for design calls, when we get an email saying that there's a new order, we normally would receive three files. We would receive an LOA, which is a signed document saying that I give you permission to move these numbers listed on this form, which you will see in a few. A proposal, which gives items which we'll be installing for the customer that we'll be buying, and the quantity and the price. So that's a proposal, and we'll also normally get a bill copy. Sometimes a bill copy does not come around, but for the most part, we get a bill copy, which is important because the information on there we need. So let's take a look at a proposal. So this is an example of a proposal for Fisk Firm, and for this customer, specific customer right here, first thing we want to check on is the pricing. So we have the sheet here, and we see that they're getting 10 premium seats, which by premium seat means phones, desk phones, unlimited seats, Yealink T46S for 42 months. That's the term agreement, 42 months. And right now it's being priced at $21.50 per seat, which is a total of $215. So what we want to check, each phone has a minimum on which it could be sold for. So what we need to do, what we have is a price sheet, and it shows you the bare minimum for a certain amount of term. So for a 42 term agreement, there is a minimum. So let's find out what that minimum is. So we should have access to Google Drive, Spectrum Digital Support. There's a Kyocera folder, and in here there's a 2019 price sheet. So if you open this price sheet and we look for T46S, which will be the same as a T29, I believe. Is that so? No, T46S. So T46S for a 48-month period is $22. And so let's see, I believe this was 2150. So for this customer, if they'll be receiving the Yealink T46S, it's 50 cents off. Uh, in this case, I just shoot it over to the salesperson on this customer, on Elizabeth Fulbright. Just shoot them over, just being, hey, we're 50 cents off, not a big deal. Let them decide. That's not for us to decide. We know what the price sheet says. The price sheet says $22. For the most part, I don't think they're going to make a deal out of it, but we're just going to send an email just bringing it to their attention, but no biggie. Uh, But more than likely, if not, we're not going to be shipping the T46S. We'll be shipping the T29G, which in that case, it definitely would cover the cost. Which, looking at it now, this is a 2150 charge. They might be getting the T29 instead of the T46S. So, okay, so the first part, the 10 phones, the pricing's good, the total's good, no need to mess with it. Alright, conference phone. They're going to be utilizing their current conference phone, so there's just a service charge, not an actual charge for getting the phone itself. Um, so that's the service charge they put in place. We can move on with that. Courtesy seat, mobile user, 42 months agreement, 1150. Uh, 8 call path pro license for 42 months, $35. Let's take a look at it. So over here at the bottom we have our products. So this is the standard license and their prices. So a 4 call path standard license, this is the price. So for a 8th call path license, the price is 35. So the price there is good. A DID package for 42 months, $15. Let's take a look at the price sheet. So if we go back up here, DID package up to 25 DIDs for 48 months, $15. Perfect. Paging adapter. They're going to be using their existing paging adapter, so there's no charge on that. The door adapter, they're going to be, I'm sorry, the paging adapter, there's a service charge on there for the services because it will be connecting to our 3CX system. The door adapter, which is a standalone, just another adapter there, not going to be connecting to our 3CX system, that integrates with their system over there, so there's no charge. Standard fax, Spectrum fax with ATA device, $25. Let's take a look at the price sheet. So everything we want to come back to the price sheet and make sure that it lines up. So eFax service with ATA device, $27 for 48 months. And here it has $25. Okay, so in a case like this, that's a difference in the price. We're going to contact the salesperson again with that same email that we bring to attention. Oh, actually, we just said we're going to leave that be since it's the T29. So we're going to send them over an email saying, hey, notice that on the proposal there's a charge for a Spectrum fax with ATA and it's only charged at 25 when for a 42 month agreement it should be uh, 27. It should be, yeah, 27. And just bring it to their attention. Maybe they have a reason why they have it at 25. Maybe they just want to be nice to the customer. They're giving it for 25, whatever the case might be. Just let them decide for that. We as the technicians, we're not authorized to make changes, to make assumptions like that. So we always want to confirm with the salesperson. All right. So that's the first check we want to do when we receive an proposal, an LOA. I want to make this check, make sure all the pricing is good. Once that is over, we can move on. So before you call a customer, it's always good to get familiar with the LOA. So here, if we look, there's an LOA here. That's the rest of the LOA. Okay, now going down there is the bill copy. Alright, so we need not to put ourselves with the bill copy. So if we look over here, we see that it's filled out. Has a date from Fisk Alexander PCs. So if we look at it, it says company name on telephone bill. So we need to make sure that this name here corresponds to what's on the telephone bill. Hence the reason why we need a copy of the telephone bill as well to make sure of all this information. So the reason why we need this information is because if we would submit a port request and would put a name that's not on the telephone bill, they're not going to recognize it and the port is going to be rejected, and it's just going to add more time on this whole process of getting them transferred over. So let me okay, so here it is. So on the first page it says Elizabeth Fulbright Fisk Alexander PC. So as we see, it's filled out properly here on LOA Fisk Alexander PC. Logic Fiber Networks, and they have their company names there, their company name there again, which is good. So now let's get familiar a little bit more with these numbers. So the billing telephone number 3744, normally that is the main number. Normally, we want to confirm this during our design call. We're going to confirm what is the main number. So we see the other numbers here, 74, 4740, 4741, etc. So looking at this, you could tell two things. You could tell either this customer was on an analog service before, or they had a lot of departments. The reason I'm saying that is because normally when you have numbers like this, these are rollover numbers. So what rollover numbers are is if 3744 is your main number, this number over here, if that's your main number, and you're back on an analog system, someone dials that 3744 number, and the receptionist picks up, "Hello, thanks for calling Fisk Attorney," or wherever, and then someone else calls, but that first line is busy, that 3744, someone dial that 3744 number, but it's busy. That number cannot be answered because she's on the phone, the receptionist is. So that number would roll over to the 4740 number, and now the phone will ring, another line will ring, and someone else will be able to answer, probably the second receptionist or someone else there will be able to answer. "Hello, Fisk Attorney," and so on and so forth. Someone else calls the 3744 numbers, but those two lines are occupied, which is the main number and the 4740 number. They're occupied. At that time, the call will roll over to the other number, and so on and so forth. So that's the reason for the rollover numbers. So that's telling me that they're probably on an analog line system currently, unless each of these numbers has their own department, which is unlikely but not impossible. So look over here at their fax number 5105, and if I remember clearly, they're getting a fax services with us, so that's okay. We just want to confirm that number. So at this point, this customer, this is a lot of numbers for a customer to have. So if on the design call, we'd call them and find out that all these numbers are just rollover numbers, their only main number is the 3744. And if you look over here on their proposal, they're getting an eighth call path pro license. What that means is they'll be able to have up to 8 simultaneous calls happening at their business at once. So if they were having 10 lines, 10 numbers just in order to receive or accept 10 calls, so the question is, do you want to keep 10 numbers, getting charged for 10 numbers, and being able to have 10 calls, or would you rather just have that 3744 number, that one number, and be able to accept 8 calls, up to 8 calls on it? Most of the time they'll say, hey, well, if those numbers aren't going to be doing anything on a new system, then no sense in keeping it, because the new system doesn't work like the old system. The new digital system that we're implementing does not need rollover numbers. So on that 13744 number, you'll be able to accept as much call as you pay for. What does that mean? Okay, looking back on this price sheet, if you look over here on this, let's look over at Pro. So at the Pro license, you could have 4 simultaneous calls, pay $25 a month for it. So you'll be able to accept 4 calls at a time. 4 people will be able to be on the phone at the same time making calls. Uh, 8 call path, it costs that much. And as you see on the left over here, it goes up 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, so on and so forth. And all that, they'll be able to accept that much calls on one number. So it's all up to them how much they're willing to pay for the amount of calls they want. So again, back to the draw board, well, back to the LOA. It all boils down to whether or not they want to keep all their number that they already have. What would want someone to keep all these numbers, or what will make someone want to keep all these numbers? Let's say for by any chance that these numbers were somewhat published on their website, or one of these numbers or a few of these numbers were published on their business card, their website, so on and so forth. That means they have customers that don't dial this main number, this 3744 number, but dial one of these numbers that might be on their website or their business card. So in that case, they might want to keep that numbers because let's say they have 200 customers out there that uses that number. If we get rid of that number, they'll be calling that number and not getting where they want to get, or they're not going to get anywhere at all because the number is not available anymore. It's not for them. So that is one factor that would move a customer to want to keep these numbers. But if these numbers aren't published anywhere, most of the time they're just they won't mind just letting it go, which is a good thing. So we check the facts, we checked the billing telephone number, we could check the account number on the bill, uh, the service address. Okay, so this should be the service address listed on your telephone bill. So this says 2711 North Haskell Avenue. So let's check out the bill. 2711 North Haskell. Okay, perfect. Suite 1550. All right, nice. So that's the address listed on the telephone bill. So we can move on now to the actual design sheet. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, wrong design sheet. So to get to a design sheet, if you have access to the Spectrum Voice Google Drive, you'll be able to find the design sheet if in the Spectrum Digital Support folder, and it's this sheet that says Spectrum Voice VoIP Design Sheet Complete. All right. So um, so first let's take a quick browse through all the tabs, and then we'll come back and tackle them one by one. So the first tab says Final Notes per Design Call. So this is where you're going to put additional notes, things that's going to help the technician who's building the PBX, uh, help them to build it better, to understand more about the design worksheet, the rest of the tabs. So if you have something in one of these tabs and you feel like if someone just glance at it and take a look at it, they may not understand exactly what's happening, you could put in the final notes a more detailed explanation of what's happening in that tab. So that's what the final notes are for. DID worksheet. This is where all your numbers are going to be listed. The numbers that we just talked about, some of them will be listed here. We're going to get back to that in a second. Subscribers. This is where all the extensions are going to be listed. We're coming back to that in a second. Survey. This is questions we're going to ask the customer during the design call or after the design call, but it needs to be filled out so we could have a general idea of what's happening at their location as regards to their network. Hours and location. Uh, Information that we're going to need for building the PBX, also for attaching an address, a physical address to their E911. Design. This is where you actually get into the design of the system and the scripts page. If the customer has a script on hand, this is where we're going to type it out so we have a copy of the script on hand. So that was pretty vague. So let's start all the way. Well, final notes is pretty straightforward, so we're going to start at the design worksheet. So what numbers are included here? Is it all the numbers we just listed on the LOA? All the numbers that we just saw on the LOA? No, not all those numbers are going to be there. Only the numbers that are going to be ported over are going to be there. So uh, if you're new here and you're not familiar with the term porting over, it means moving a number from one carrier to the other. It's a process that could take up to I think 10 to 15 business days. I might be wrong, just know it takes a while. So that's why we try to make sure we have all this information correct, because if you're waiting 10 days just for the port to be rejected and you have to wait another 10 days, and I mean, time adds up. Next thing you know, a month, 2 months pass by and the customer number has not been ported over yet. So we always want to make sure that we get as much correct information over here to make that port as smooth as possible. So back to the main question of what numbers are going to be listed here. So quick note, the shortcut for making your split screen, if you click on the top here at the top of your window that you're in and click on the Windows key and the left or the right panel, it's going to snap your window to one side, whether it's the left or the right, depending on what you click on. So right now I'm going to click the Windows key and click on the right arrow on my keyboard. So you see how it snaps my window to one half. The reason I'm showing you this is because it makes it so much easier to move information from one window to another versus actually jumping from one window to another window back and forth. So let's open that LOA on the side over here, and now we have the numbers on this side and we have our design worksheet to the right. So what we kind of established before is maybe these numbers are rollover numbers and the 3744 is the main number. So let's just fill this out real quick here on the right. So numbers are being installed. Let's say that the 3744 is their main number, so let's put that in. So 214, 638. Again, I'm showing you, like I mentioned in the beginning, this is how I do it. So I normally put dashes in between my numbers. The reason being is to me personally, it gets confusing when you have the numbers and there's no space in between it. That's a personal thing of mine. So the question is this a fax number? So if you hover your mouse right over the top here, there's a note and it says, is this number used for a fax? Choose yes or no. So this main number isn't used for a fax, so we're going to put no. So it asks main inbound phone number. So the note says, is this one of your main public inbound numbers, such as a business card, advertisement? Choose yes or no. So for this option, we have actual main rollover or direct dial. So this is a main number, so we're going to put that main. The current carrier, as we established before, the main carrier is Logic Fiber Network. So let's put that in. So Logix, Logix with an X, Fiber Networks. All right. Billing telephone number. So as listed here, the billing telephone number is that 214 638. So you can type it out if you feel like. Me personally, I just copy it over here and paste it over here, trying to make the workflow a little bit faster. So account number on telephone bill. This account number normally is correct on the LOA, but again, that's why we're here to confirm things, not to assume. So account number 4380437. So is that what's listed here? Yep. So let's type it out. Let's do it from here though. Account number. So 4380437. All right. Service address. So if we look over here, service address, we're gonna put this in. So we're gonna put oh sorry, wrong thing. 2711 North Haskell Avenue, Suite 1550. City, Dallas. State, Texas. Zip code 75204. Authorize username on the account. So we would just confirm this information even though we have it here on the bill. Just confirm during the design call. Ask them. So the authorized person to make changes on the account is Elizabeth Fulbright. Is that right? Say, yeah, it's Elizabeth. Okay, perfect. Now we know it's Elizabeth. So we're going to put that here. Fulbright. Alright, so let's do our other number, which is the fax number. So that's 214 638 5105. Fax number, yes or no? Yes, it is. Is it a main number? We're just going to leave that blank. Once it's a fax number, we know it's a fax number. So I'm going to enlarge in my Excel screen once more. So now we have all this information filled out. So to make, again, always trying to make the workflow faster and smooth, there's ways that you can do. So I'm going to show you a few shortcuts here on copying down information. So right now it's not too bad because it's only one fill across. But if you have 6, 7, 8 numbers that you need to fill out all this information for, it could get real tedious and take up a lot of time filling out each of these all of this information. So what you can do is click on this. If you put your cursor right at the vertice right here, click on it, pull it down, you're gonna have an exact replica at what's above in the column or in the field above. But you have to be careful because, for example, this billing telephone number, if I just click on and pull it down, if you see, it changes the number. It changes the number from 3744 to 3745. So you don't want that. So if you'd press Control on your keyboard and then click on it and pull it down once, it keeps the number the same. You could do the same for this. That keeps the same. So I believe it's because of the formatting of this cell, the reason why the number doesn't change. But that doesn't work on every number, because if I just pull this down without using the control command, actually it's going to keep the same. So if you pull down your, if you click on it and pull it down once, you see that little box below my cursor where it says Dallas and it's floating? That tells me what it's going to write in the field below. So if you saw, like, for example, let's see if this guy is going to do it. Okay, so if I click Control, okay, you see how it changes 75205 in the little floating box beside my cursor? So that tells me that if I let go my mouse right now, it's going to write 75205 in there, which it does. But if I just pull on it and look at it without pressing Control, 75204, which what we want, and Texas. And if you're wondering right now, why am I doing it 1-1 if you can't just select a bunch of fields and just pull it down? Sure, you can do that. So the way to do that is if you click here, highlight all of these, you could do the entire thing, just pull it down once, boom, everyone's down. But look over here at your service address. I'm sorry, I did not notice that. You see it says 2711 North Haskell Avenue, where the second one says 2712, which we don't want. So we could always go over and change this, double click, backspace 1, and we have our information here. So that's how you'd fill out a DID worksheet. So during a design call, like I said, you can find which one better, which best suits you. But for some people, during a design call, filling out 8, 9 numbers, all this information could take the time up for the customer. So if you're talking with the customer, hey, Mr. Customer, I'm confirming this information. All this, that information we just get. So for Logix, the billing telephone number, the account number, all these numbers are in this one account. Yes, Mr. Technician, all these numbers are into that one account. Okay, so are you gonna sit here and put 10 numbers and fill out each of these field while the customer wait on the line and wait? Probably. If it's 5 numbers and you know you could do it like in 10, 15 seconds, sure, you can go ahead for it. But if it's gonna take away 10 minutes of the customer just sitting there in silence waiting for you to finish, fill out this information, you can just ask them confirming that information. So for example, ask them, so the 3744 number, it's not a fax number, which we already know that, so you're not going to ask them that, but the 3744 number, it's with Logix. This number, this is your billing telephone address, yes, at blah blah blah. Confirm all this information right here. And then if they say yes, go ahead and say okay. And that applies for all the other numbers that we have here listed. So in this case, if we had all these other numbers in the in this design worksheet, we would have 10 more numbers. But if we confirm that all this information is the same, we could just move on and after the design call come back and put all that information in there. But again, that's only if it's going to take additional time. So let's move on to the subscribers tab. So this is the tab where you're going to be putting the information for the extensions. So what are extensions? What extensions are is if you have a physical phone, let me show you a physical phone, what the actual Yelling look like. So let's look up Yelling T48S. Okay, let's look up one of those phones. Let's go under images. So this is a physical phone right here. This is a physical Yelling phone that this is one of the phones that we provide for our customers if they want the phone. So this is one of the more higher end Yelling phones, so we don't use it as much, but customers still use it now and again. So this is considered an extension. So if you look on the screen there, which you can't really see very well, but if you look at the screen, there's other quote extensions on the screen. And what those are, those connect to other phones. So if you push one of those buttons, it connects you to a phone and you could talk to them at the same company. But this is considered an extension, and each extension has a unique name and number. So let's say uh, Ben. Let's say, for example, Benjamin Franklin. He sits at the receptionist desk. So we could have the phone says Benjamin Franklin and his unique extension number is 001. So if anyone within the company would pick their phone up and dial on this pad, this number pad 001, and pick it up, they'll get connected to Benjamin Franklin. And the name is just so that it could be more personalized to each person. So what does that have to do with the design sheet? Where are we? We're here. So let's say the extension number is 001 or 101, more common, 101. First name Benjamin, last name Franklin. So now on his phone, when he receives his phone at his location, when he sits at his desk and look at the phone, it's gonna say Benjamin Franklin 101. So now he knows 101 is his extension number, Benjamin Franklin is his name. Email address. Why do we need their email address? Well, we need their email address for two reasons. For one, that's where the login credentials for this extension is going to be sent. That's where all the information regarding this phone is going to be sent. And two, uh, this email address, if they're going to have voicemail to email, we need an email on hand. So, another question we get encountered a lot. If you have 10 extension here, could all the email address be the same? You you need to explain to the customer, yes, all the email addresses can be the same. It can be the same, but it's not recommended. Why? Why is it not recommended? Because if you have 10 extension and 3CX sends out 10 welcome emails, and I believe if I'm not mistaken, each welcome email is two separate email. So that one email address will be getting 20 emails to that one address, and for some people it's going to be annoying. So it's always good to advise the customer, yes, we can have the same email addresses on all of the extensions, but be advised you will be receiving a lot of emails to that one email address when the system starts, up, or when it's first implemented. Because if you tell the customer that a lot of emails will be sending to this email address, they might start thinking spam. They might think that we're sending spam, but just let them know, no, this is a one-time event. We'll be sending over all the credentials, so it's just one load of emails that we'll be getting. Hence the reason why we encourage them, if there's a specific email or a personal email for each of these extensions, that will be better. So each personal email will be receiving two email messages, and that's it. Nobody inbox will be cluttered with invitations and welcome email from 3CX on the initial welcome email invite. So let's say Benjamin Franklin email is benfrank@gmail.com. So tell them, okay, perfect. That's an email address we can associate with this extension. So that's a wording or a line you could use. So you could ask them, so is there a specific email address that we could associate with this specific extension? They say yes, sure. Okay. Voicemail. Do you want a personal voicemail on this extension? Yes or no? Yes, let's give Ben his personal voicemail. Does he have a direct desk number, if applicable? So, what a direct desk number is, this is your extension number. So, anyone internally or anyone inside of your organization in the company could call 101 and get connected to Benjamin Franklin. But what if I'm in Belize or Mexico or any other part of the world and I want to call Benjamin Franklin? I can't dial 101. I won't get anywhere. So what a direct desk is a phone number that goes directly to his extension. It's not the main number. It's not this 3744 number. It's a separate number that goes directly to the extension. So it's basically like calling a cell phone, but instead of getting contacted through the cell phone, he get contacted through his extension, which we can also configure to go to his actual physical cell phone. But That's a 3CX app. I believe there's probably a video on that. So direct desk if applicable. Let's say right now Ben doesn't have a direct desk number. So outbound caller ID phone number. So you'll ask the customer. So when Ben dials out, should the caller ID show as the company's main number? More than likely, yes, if he doesn't have a direct desk number. But let's say that Ben did have a direct desk number. So let's say 501 Let's say that was, I'm sorry, let's say that was his direct number. So at that point, you would ask the customer, would you want the outbound caller ID show as 1820, or do you want it to be shown as the main number, which is a 3744 number? So you'd ask them, which one should it show? The main company number or Benjamin's direct desk number? Sometimes people will say, show the company. So if someone would call back, they'll call back the company, not Ben directly. But in some cases, some people, some bosses, some of our customers would say, uh, let the caller ID show as Ben personal direct number. Outbound caller ID name, 15 letters max. Some people would like actual name, let's say Fisk Attorney or Ben Incorporated or Ben Inc. as their outbound caller ID. We can do that as well. Additional notes. So, additional notes. Why would someone use additional notes on the subscribers tab? So, sometimes on this proposal here, shown, let's see if this is an example. Okay, so this one doesn't have it, but let's say that they were receiving 10 premium seats, which is the Yelink T29G. Well, in this case, it shows as the T46. Let's say that they were receiving 10 desk phones, but at the same time, they were receiving some of these phones. They were receiving some of these cordless phones, let's say. So now they were only receiving 10 desk phones and 3 cardless phones. So now let's say that we gone ahead, we did the design call, and now it's time for the technician to bill this system. How would they know which phone is desk phone and which one of them should be the cordless? Uh-huh. So that's where additional notes comes in. So you could put here at the additional note, Ben is a desk phone, right? So Ben is a desk phone, or let's say Ben was a cordless, just put cordless. So now the technician know, oh, extension 101 is a cordless. Okay, so extension 101, extension 107, and extension 115. Those three extensions are cordless. Okay, perfect. Now they know all the others are desk phones. So that's one way of using the additional notes. And you'd go ahead and fill this all out with the customer. Be advised that normally if the extension count is between uh, well, 1 and let's say 7, 8, we don't mind calling the customer on the day and filling out all that information with them. But once you get a customer that has 15, has 20, 30, and more extensions, we would call them and insist that they fill out the design sheet that's sent to them first. The design sheet that's sent to them only has this section where they need to fill out the extension number, the first name, the last name, the email address, and basic information like this. We'd call them and ask them, hey, have you received the sheet? Have you filled it out yet? But again, this is for customers that has 15, 12, 15, and more extensions. And ask them, have you filled out the design sheet as yet? No, some of them say they don't understand it, they need help. Okay, so you could call them for 5 minutes. Say, would it be okay for me to call you and help you go through the design sheet? Sure, that would be great. Call me right now. So you call them and you'd go through with them the extension. So explain to them what an extension is. Explain to them about the first and the last name, and go through probably one or two extensions with them, and then you leave them be. So okay, so you can finish the rest of the extension with all the names and etc. and have that and send that information back to us as soon as possible, so we can arrange a design call with you. That's what we want, because the reasoning behind that is because If a person has 15 or 20 extensions and you would call them and fill out all that information with them during a design call, that is going to add on 40 minutes to an hour to your design call. So you're going to spend like half an hour to an hour just sitting with the customer and you typing out all this information when we sent a design sheet to them and they were to fill that out and send it back to us. So I'm going to say it one more time. This is more for customers that has between 10, 15, 20 and more extension. We'd call and more insist that they fill out the design sheet that was sent to them. If it's 5 extensions, 7, even probably 8 extensions, it doesn't matter. You could call them, fill that out on the spot. It's not going to take up too much time, probably 10 minutes or so. But once it gets more than that, it starts to really take away time from our work time and from actually being productive with our time. So it's all about managing our time. Uh, okay, where were we? Okay, survey. So this is the part where we ask the customers a bunch of questions. So me personally, this is how I normally would do a design call. I'd go DID worksheet and then subscribers. I'd skip the survey, go over to hours and location, then go to the design and tell them, okay, and by the time I reach this point, I tell them, okay, we're about finished, but we just need to ask a few questions before we leave, and I'd go through the questions with them. Again, whichever you feel more comfortable with. If you feel comfortable going through Do ID worksheet, subscribers, survey, hey, that's fine. That's your mojo, you do what you need to do. So these are the questions. So I'm going to go through each of the question, kind of explain the reasoning behind the question, why we asked the question, so you can know what we're trying to get at. Okay, so which extensions will have admin rights to the management console? List all. I guess that was supposed to be all that apply. So, okay. So list all that apply. So what that means is there's 20 extensions in your company. We could assign one extension. It could be a manager, it could be a supervisor, admin rights. So what that means is that one extension is going to have complete control over all the other extension. They'll be able to manipulate, make changes, be admin over those extensions essentially. So if they say, yeah, I want to be able to check on this on that extension, change this on this extension, okay? So you ask them which extension should have that admin rights. So let's they say give Benjamin that admin rights. So 101, Ben has the admin rights. Then they say, wait, but Sarah is our manager for this department. Could we give her admin rights as well? Tell them, yeah, sure, we could give Sarah admin rights. But tell them, I must tell you, admin cannot manipulate or make changes to admin. So what that means is if Ben is an admin, if we assign Ben as an admin and Sarah is an admin, Ben, when he logs into his management console, he won't be able to see Sarah's extension or make any changes to Sarah's extension and vice versa. When Sarah logs into her management console, she won't be able to see Ben extension and won't be able to make Ben extension. Why? Because both of them are admin. Both of them has the same privilege and rights, so none of them can control the other. Again, just tell them we need to tell you that so you know if you ever wonder why you can't make changes even though you're admin to another admin, that's the reason why. Great. So ask them, do you have static IP, and if so, what's your public IP address? So the reasoning behind this question is we want to have their IP address so we could put it into the system, because 3CX has a system. Let me show you right here. 3CX have a system. If we go over to the dashboard where it said blacklisted IPs. So if you see this IP address, it says deny because it doesn't recognize the IP address. It suspects the IP address is trying to get in unauthorized, so it blocks the IP from getting to our IP address, from getting into our system or getting close to our system. So why we need this from our customer is so we can put their IP address inside the system so they don't get blacklisted or they don't get locked out of the system. But you might say, okay, they get locked out of the system. What's the worst that could happen? Yeah, it could get really bad if they get locked out of the system. So if we don't have their IP address and We don't put it inside the system. Let's say for one day they're trying to log into their management console or their personal extension. They go in their computer, they go online, they try log in, and they forgot their password. They put the password in once wrong. They got it twice wrong, three times wrong. I think the max is 4 or 5. If you get it wrong, it blocks you out. So this is where the problem lies in. It's Sarah. She's the one who is trying to log into uh, her personal extension on the internet, and she's the one who forgot her password, but she got it wrong 5 times and got blacklisted. So what our system do is it doesn't blacklist Sarah's computer, not her local IP address. No, 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 no. What our system do is blacklist the public IP address. So what that means is Ben gets locked out, Sarah gets locked out, Jim gets locked out. Everyone on the network that's using 3CX gets locked out. And when I say locked out, I don't just mean on their web interface. Their actual physical phones, their, where is it? Where'd you go? The Yealink, these cardless phones, these desk phones that they have, all these phones get kicked off, not working. They won't be able to receive calls, they won't be able to make calls. They'll be totally blocked out of the system if the system would see it as a malicious IP. So now that's the reasoning behind why it's important that we get their IP address beforehand if it's static. Alright, cool. Alright, moving on. Other question. Do you currently have standard phone lines or VoIP lines? Sometimes using the word VoIP customers might not understand. So ask them, do you have standard phone lines like the normal phone lines, or do your phones use the internet to operate? Sometimes that is what people need to hear so that they could understand. If VoIP lines, how are the phones connected? So if they say, yeah, we're using VoIP lines, so I say, okay, cool. How are the phone connected? So let's see the options that it has here. It says computers are currently connected to the phones. Computers and phones have independent wiring. I don't know. So whichever they choose. So as for the computer and phone wiring, if you look at the phone, let me see if I could find a picture of the back of the phone. Okay, let me see. All right, so all right, perfect. Here it is. So if you look at the back of the port, there is the extension line there. Then there's the PC port and the internet port. Perfect. Here's a diagram right here. So we could have a Cat5 cable coming in from your router, from your switch, wherever it's coming from. It could be PoE capable or not. We're gonna get into that for a second right now. It goes into the internet port and gives the phone internet. The phone could work. The phone could operate. But then we could also have a Cat5 cable or internet cable coming out from the PC port and going from your phone to your computer to give your computer internet. So in that case, your phone will have internet and your computer will have internet. So that's the question. So you'd ask them, so what kind of wiring? If they say it's standard lines, then we just skip this question and move on. If they say it's VoIP lines, so ask them, okay, so how does your VoIP lines operate? Is the internet connected to the phones and from the phones to the computer, or does the phone has its own internet wire, their own cat wire, and the computer has its own cat wire? And depending on the answer, you fill that in. Okay, if they have independent wiring, try to discern if it operates on a separate network or over the internet. So if they have independent wiring, try to discern if they operate on a separate network or over the internet. So what that is sometimes they would have, I'm not sure if it's like Cisco routers, or they'll have this phone internet company that will have their system at the location of the customer and will have internet lines coming from that, or cat cables coming from that little machine that they have there coming to the phones, which in fact they don't really get internet from that little box that's sending out. That's like their, like a PBX you could call it, or like a phone management system box that they have there at the customer location. I'm not sure what it's called, but basically sometimes their phones will be connected using an internet cable wire, but no internet is actually coming through the cable. So that poses a problem, because if they say, yeah, our current phone works off the internet, and they turn their phone around and they see, oh yeah, there's an internet wire plugged into the phone, and then we get there with our phones and plug in our phones and it's not getting internet, the phones are not going to work. So that's what we need to discern. We need to find out from the customer. Okay, so you sure those are internet wire? So this is only if the phones have independent wiring. But if the phone and the computer share wiring and the computer is getting internet, then we know for a fact that the phones are getting internet from the internet and not from a separate network box that's there on site. So that's the reasoning behind this. So next question, if VoIP lines, do you have access to your current web portal to forward calls? So on analog lines or traditional phone lines, forwarding calls, there's a dial code that you press, beep beep beep, and you dial, and you'll be able to forward calls to another number, which we need to know on the day of the install. But sometimes if it's a VoIP phone, you need to change that forwarding number through the online portal or call the carrier, which sometimes could be a hassle. So if they do have access to their current web portal, that would be perfect. That's the best situation you could find. So we'd ask them, do you have access to your current web portal for your phone, so we could forward calls? If they say no, fine. If they say yes, ask for that credentials. Okay, next question. Do all the places where you will have phones currently have an active network cable? So the reason behind that is, let's say that the person did say that their phones do not work over VoIP or does not work over the internet, but it's standard analog lines. So we'd ask them, all the places where the new phones are going to be installed that we're going to be bringing in, is there an active network cable there or an active internet cable there? Some people right off the bat will be able to tell you, yes, there is. Some might say, I'm not sure. So you might ask them, okay, so all the places where the new phones are going to be installed, is there a computer there? And if they say, yeah, there's a computer there, you'd ask them, okay, so does the computer operate over Wi-Fi, or does it have a physical cable, CAT cable, or Ethernet cable going into the phone? And if they say um, it uses the internet wire, then you say, okay, fine. Okay, so now we know we could daisy chain the phone to the computer, or connect the internet from the computer to the phone, let them share. We know that can be done. And so you just confirm with them. So all the places where the phones are going to be installed have a computer with one of those Ethernet wires connected to it. And if they say, yeah, okay, fine. Now we know all the places have Ethernet cable. There's no need to worry about that. But if they say no, then we need to ask them, okay, how many new cables will be required because the phone uses internet to operate? So, how far do you think um, the phone is from your switcher, from your router, or from your server room? Some companies have server rooms, so they might say, oh, it's right next door. So you ask them, okay, let's estimate like how far it is. um, it depends on who you talk to. They'll be able to tell you an actual estimate. Some people you might need to ask them, okay, is there someone else there who might be able to give a rough estimate as the measurement, who's more familiar with measurement, etc., to give you a more accurate measurement. And if there is, we try to get that. So now we know, okay, they don't have active network. We might need to run cables. This is how much feet we're going to need per run. So again, this other question, approximately how many feet per run, that's saying if the customer say, yeah, we have internet cables at all the location except the kitchen, and we need a phone in the kitchen. Okay, so how many feet for the kitchen? And then let's say they say 30 feet for the kitchen. Okay, I'm gonna need 30 feet for the kitchen. Let's write that down. So write down 30 feet for kitchen. And then they say, oh, wait, there's another phone that doesn't have internet where it's going to be installed. Okay, which phone? The lobby phone. Okay, the lobby phone doesn't have internet cable. Okay, how far is the lobby phone going to be installed from the server room? Okay, it's about 50 feet. Okay, 50 feet for a lobby phone. All right, so now you know we need 30 feet and 50 feet, so we need 80 feet of Cat 5 cable. One 30 feet run, one 50 feet run. So what we're trying to do here is we don't want our technicians to go out there and on the site find out, oh, the customer doesn't even have any internet wire runs, so we can't install the phone, or this or that. We don't want any blind spots to come and catch us unexpectedly on install day. Hence the reason for all these questions. So the other question, what are the location name for the additional runs? So you could put all the names right here, type your response right here. So you could put in uh, kitchen, lobby, this, that. And so this is more of a breakdown of where how many for 30 for kitchen, 50 for lobby, but just a list of all the location names. So are any of the phones wall mounted? Sorry, we're moving on to the other question. Are any of the phones wall mounted? Yes, we have phones that are wall mounted. Would you like to keep it wall mounted? That's the question we'd ask them. Sure, we'd like to keep it wall mounted. So now we know, yes, they have one and they would like to keep it wall mounted. So we know we need to order wall mounts when we order the phone, how many wall mounts we need to order. So the other question, if yes, how many phones are wall mounted? Just one, just two. Now we know, okay, we need that much more wall mounts when we order. Is your primary switch PoE capable? What is PoE? PoE is power over Ethernet. So let's check that out. Let's find out what PoE is. So PoE switch. Alright, so this is a PoE switch. Let me see if they have an actual diagram. Oh, wait, there it is. What do you know? The internet is full of wonders. Alright, so this is a PoE switch. I believe that's the back of the PoE switch, and this is the front of the PoE switch. Let me see if I can get this image larger. Can I? No? Let me see. Okay, there it is. Alright, so what this is, if you look at the diagram here, there's an outlet here. And the outlet, this is the switch. This is this box. There's a power cable going in there, and then there's all these devices. So this is showing, I'm not sure what kind of device is that. Let's say that it's a computer. Let's use this. These are much more relatable. An IP camera, a PoE IP camera. Uh, I don't know. That looks like a fire alarm or something. Let's just say these are three devices that uses internet to operate, but they also need power to operate. So normally, if any of you are familiar with a IP camera or any other device, and even a phone, why am I going this far when we were just talking about the phones? Let's go back to the phones. Okay, here it is. Okay, so we all know that the phones need power to operate. So if you see there, there's a cord going into the phone. That's what, see if you look over here. Okay, this one doesn't have it. But they need power to operate. What a PoE switch does is it removes the need to have a power cord. How does it do that? So the PoE switch plugs into the wall. So there's a different voltage. I think in the diagram before there was a 24 and a 48 volt or something PoE switch. So what that does is in that PoE switch you connect your internet cable coming from your router or from another switch, plug it into that PoE switch, and you plug power to that switch as well. And at the back of the switch it has the ports just like any other switch, like a normal switch. And from those port, you plug in your Cat5 cable, and you plug it into your IP phone or your desk phones, the Yealink. And with that internet or that Ethernet cable, you'll be able to give the phone power and internet. So it's one cable. So what is that good for? Well, it reduces wire cluster. Nobody likes wires. The customer knows that. So tell them uh, the PoE switch. If you have a PoE switch, that's great. We need to know if all the Ethernet drops at the location, if they're PoE capable or not. Because sometimes they could say, yeah, we have a PoE switch, but for some reason or the other, which if you want to know more, you could always contact either Josiah or me or one of the other technicians, and ask them why would someone have a PoE switch, but at the network drop at the table, the the phones are not getting powered via the PoE switch. There's a few reasons that could possibly stop it. Again, that's more detail. We're not going to go into that. But we want to know if at the network drop at the table, if that is PoE capable, if that Ethernet cable is PoE active. That's what we need to know. So that's the idea behind this question: is your primary switch PoE capable? So these are pretty straightforward. So you can explain this to the customer. You can, if they seem interested in wanting to know what this PoE switch is, you could explain to them the benefits of having it, less wires, and just that alone helps people to be like, oh yeah, we want one of those. Less wires is always better. So if you already have a PoE switch, okay, so if they already have a switch, we would need to know how many ports are open on the switch. Because if they don't have network drops at each location where the phones are going to be installed, and we need to run new cable runs, we need somewhere to plug that cable in. So we need to know how many ports are free on the network switch. So, for example, let's say they have a network switch like this one, and from ports 1 through uh, 13 is used, and we only have one port open, but we need to connect 5 phones. I mean, that's not going to work. There's only one or two port open. We need 5 ports open. So that's what we need to know. That's the idea behind that question. We need to know how many switch is in the office and how many ports are open. So if they need any extra phones to be plugged in, we know how many ports we have to play with. All right. So IT network support. Do you have an a third-party IT company that handles your IT work, or is it being handled in-house? Straight up question, yes, no. If in-house, does your router or firewall belongs to you, or is it supplied by your ISP? Straightforward, yes or no. So if it's a third-party person or company, can we communicate with them in order to check network settings and make sure that everything is correct on the day of the install? Straightforward, yes or no. If they say yes, we can contact them. Please ask them, could you please provide their contact information? Okay. Analog systems. Do you have a security alarm? Yes or no? Straightforward question. Is if yes, choose one. So security and alarm systems, security alarm system has two ways of operating. They could operate over the phone line, or they can be operated through network cellular signals. So you ask them, hey, is your security alarm use one of your phone numbers, one of your landlines? And if they say yes, we need to find out which one. So, for example, for this customer, if had I asked them the question, "Do you have a security alarm?" and they say, "Yeah, we do have a security alarm," and we ask them, "Does it use one of the physical phone numbers, one of the physical lines, or does it use a cell signal to operate?" And they'd say, it uses one of the phone's lines. So now you look over here and you ask them, okay, so it uses one of the phone lines. Do you know which one of these numbers is your security alarm or your fire alarm? If they say no, they don't know. Okay, so that we need to find out, because some people would connect their security alarm or their fire alarm to their main number, and if we would move this main number over and port this number from their current provider over to SIP, our SIP provider, uh, the alarm won't work anymore, or the fire alarm, the security alarm, it won't work anymore, which isn't good for anyone. So what you could ask them is ask your security, your carrier or your security provider, whoever provides security for you, if they can move over that security line from your main number to one of these rollover numbers that you're not going to be using anymore. That's one solution. Same goes for the fire alarm, for the security alarm. All right. So, other question: are any phone lines being used for gate entry, postage machine, credit card machines, or other analog devices? Straightforward question: yes, no. If yes, how many? Page and fax: do you currently use an overhead paging as such as from a loudspeaker or a warehouse environment? Yes or no. If no, are you interested in finding out about installing an overhead paging system? Yes or no. For fax, which of the following would best suit your business? So, for that question, you could take a look here and tell them, okay, so just confirming which of the following best suits your needs. I see here on your proposal that you're receiving Spectrum fax with ATA device, so that is standard fax. So would you like just to keep it as standard fax, or would you like a combination of standard fax and eFax? So their first question might be, is it going to be an additional charge? No, it's not. I mean, we could combine it together. It's not an additional charge. You're already paying for the fax service. So that's all up to them. All right. So hours and location, straightforward. What phone numbers would you like for your phone service to fail over in case of an outage? So they might have a failover number that they want. Will we be installing phones at multiple locations? Yes or no? So what are the main inbound phone numbers for each location? So if there's multiple location with some customers it's one company but they have three outlets. So they have three different locations, and if each of those location have a different number to call into, we'd put that here, what those numbers are and the location of those numbers in each, and that goes for the outbound as well because sometimes they would want three different numbers to call in, but if any of those three locations would call out, they might have want to one number showing up on the caller ID. So that depends on what the customer want. So we need to find that out as well. Business hours. What are your business hours? Monday through Friday, 5 a.m. to 4 p.m. That's our business hours. That's pretty early, but yeah. 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. That's our business hours. Monday through Friday, Monday through Friday. So we put that information in there. Saturday and Sundays, just confirm with them so you have Saturday and Sundays off. Yeah, perfect. At that point, we're done with this sheet, with this page. Now the design tab. Design tab. So you can read this. Step one, step two. So from my personal experience, sometimes getting here with the customer, it could get really what's the word? It could get really complicated for them, and it could be real frustrating because you might be going over this four, five, six times. So I find the most simplest approach to get to a customer is doing this. Tell them, okay, so we're at the design page, and now we're going to do an example. Let's say someone would call into your main number. Someone calls in that 3744 number, and what should ring? What should happen when someone calls into that number? Should it ring into like a receptionist? Should it ring one desk? Should it ring a group of extensions, like a group of people phone should ring when someone calls that main number? Or should it ring directly into an auto attendant? So what should I hear when I call that number? Should I get one person? Should a group of people, I should have the options to reach a group of people, or should I ring into an auto attendant? So they might say, okay, so let's ring into a group. Okay, perfect. So this is where you put groups. If you see over here the heading, it says ring groups. So hunt group person, so put ring uh, main number ring group. Alright, so what extension should ring? Alright, so ring extension 101, which is Ben, ring extension 105, and extension 106. Those are the extensions that should ring. Tell them, okay, so this is the good part, or this is what I find out works more effective with customers. Every time you insert one of these information or a part of fill out one of these fields, you go back over from the beginning with them. Because sometimes what happens is what would catch you is you go over hunt group, main number ring group, which extension should ring? These three extension. If no one answer, where should it go? Here. How many rings? This amount of rings. Okay, move on. Next group. Next group. And then by the end of the call, you'll tell them, okay, so this is how your call are going to be. This is how your call flow is going to be. Let's go through it one more time. And then you run through what you wrote down, what they told you to do, and they're like, no, that's not what we want. But then that's what they just told you. So the best thing I find out to avoid that is every time you fill out one of these fields, start from the beginning. So extension, I just put those extensions. So you say, okay, so I call the main number, it rings extension 101, 105, 106. If no one should answer, let's say they're busy, they're not at their phones, the phones ring out, where should the caller be forwarded to? So they might say, send them to another ring group. Okay, so send it to secondary ring group. And then ask them how many times should the phone ring before it's sent to that ring group. Let it ring 4 times. So, right, 4 times. That's 16 seconds. And now you go through it over with them again. Okay, so tell them, okay, so this is what we have so far. I call into the main number, it rings extension 101, 105, 106. It rings 4 times, which is 16 seconds it's going to ring for, and then forward it to the second ring group. And they're like, yeah, that's what we want. Okay, so let's move on. Move on to the second ring group. So we're going to name this one second ring group. Okay, so who all should be included in the second ring group? They're going to say ring extension 101. Okay, ring 101 again. 105. Okay, 106, 110, 115, and 120. Okay, and then ask them if no one should answer here, where should the caller be forwarded to? Send it to voicemail. Okay, a voicemail of which extension? 101, the main extension. Okay, voicemail box 101. So tell them, how many rings should it ring before it goes to that voicemail? 3 rings. Okay, 3 rings. 12 seconds. So now you go through this with them. So I don't know if you noticed, but for the second ring group, I didn't go through it every time I fill in a field. Because what I'm going to do is, I'm going to tell them, okay, let's start from the top again. I call into the main number, it rings extension 101, 105, 106. It rings 4 times. If no one answers, it goes to the second ring group, which rings extension 101, 105, 106, 110, 115, 120. It rings 3 times for 12 seconds, and then it goes to the voicemail box of 101. Is that correct? Yeah, that's how I want the system. Okay, perfect. Moving on. So that's how we want to deal with it in that situation. So let's say that they said 3 rings and not to a voicemail box, but to an IVR. So now you go IVR, okay. So normally this is what we start. IVR number 1, because this is digital receptionist. So if you're wondering why I said digital receptionist and IVR, IVR is one name for it. Digital receptionist is another name for it. They're also called auto attendants. So there's 3 names for it: IVR, digital receptionist, and auto attendant. Okay, so let's say that they say it rings this group, it rings this group. If no answer, it goes to the IVR. So this is how I find the best way to word or approach them with this. I'd ask them, okay, so when I call in and this IVR starts, what are the options I should be presented with? So they might start off, okay, so I want this to be this, I want this to be that, it says 1 for this, 2 for this, 3 for this, 4 for this, and 5 for this. And sometimes the customer might just ramble off, go off. If the customer ever rambles off, especially when it comes to the digital receptionist, just leave them be, because it gets their ideas flowing. Because if you stop them right from the beginning, hey, okay, let's take this one at a time, they might be building it out, and then afterwards they're like, no, they don't want it that way, and they might do it over and over again. So if you mention digital receptionist to the customer and they say yes, they want it, and then you ask them what options should you be presented with if you get to the auto attendant, and they ramble off and start, press 1 for this, press 2 for this, press this for that, just leave them be. Just stay quiet, leave them. And then when they're done, tell them, okay, perfect, I like it, let's go through that again, but we're going to go through it a little slower so I could write down all this information and get it down. And they're going to say, okay. And then you go through it one by one. One by one. So destination, press 1 for our health office. Let's say press 1 for our health offices. Alright, in health office, who should that health office ring? I should ring extension 101 and 102. So now you know that health office is not an individual extension but a ring group. So what do you do in that situation? Well, you create a ring group called health office. and extensions to ring. Let's say extension 111, extension 111 and 112, and it should ring for 4 rings, which is 16 seconds. And if no answer, you should go to voicemail of extension 111. Alright, so go through them with it. Okay, so we got the first option, which is health office. So if someone should press wrong one, they should get connected to the health office, which will ring extension 111, 112. 4 rings, 16 seconds, voicemail of 111. They say yes. So I'm sorry, excuse me. So they say voicemail of 111, destination if no answer, VM 111. Right? Perfect. And we move on just like that with the rest. If it's a specific extension, let's say they say if press 2 for our help desk. Okay, so let's go to say help desk, and you say, okay, so where is the help desk? Which extension is that? And they say it's extension 107. So let's just put 107 here, and that is the help desk. So what you can put over here in MAC address of phones, or which one of these fields are not filled, 107, which will be this one, you could put that as, I'll let them know that this is the help desk. So now we know, okay, extension 107 is the help desk. So when they refer to the help desk, that is the extension they should be connected to. Destination if no answer, voicemail of 107, which is the help desk. We continue on and continue for it until we get through all the options with them. Script. So we'd ask the customer, do you have a script on hand right now that you would like for us to use? Or while we're doing it, after we finish all these options, we could tell them, okay, so let's do a script, an exact word for word script on what you're going to say for this, because someone at your location will be recording this script. Or you could ask them, do you have someone on site that would do the voiceover for this recording? Or would you like for someone at our business do it? Sometimes they would actually request, hey, could one of your guys do it for us? I mean, we don't have anyone here. Or they might say, we want someone professional to do it. What we can do is, in that case, I'm not sure. If we do it ourselves, tell them, sure, we can get someone professional to do it, but as you know, a professional recording or a professional voice artist, we'd have to pay them, so that's an additional cost to you. But we can have that services arranged through us, but again, you'll have to pay the services because there's a service fee for having a professional voice artist do that voiceover. But if they have someone at their location, tell them, okay, let's go through the script, and then you write the script right here. And like, thank you for calling health. What was this company name again? Let's call it healthcare services. There's no agent, and you continue typing out, there's no agent here, there's no agent currently available to take your call. Please press 1 to get in contact with our help office, press 2 for our help desk, press 3 for this, press 4 for that. So we have a copy of the script. It would be also great if the customer would actually have this typed out and could send us a copy of it, let's say in Word, so we could have an actual file on hand with just the script. And also, that would ensure that on the day of the install, or even prior to the install, we could give them a call and be like, hey, let's record the script right now. The PBX is built. We could record it right now. So on the day of the install, all your recordings are already in, and we could do that. That's the reasoning behind having our script tab here and being able to write the scripts out. Yeah. So after you're finished with all this, you go through it one more time with the customer. Tell them, okay, so last time, this is how we're going to go through it. So someone calls into your main number. It rings the main ring group, 101, 105, 106, and you go through that whole thing with them. You go through the IVR with them. So you tell them 3 rings, 12 seconds. If no answer, it goes to the IVR. They reach the IVR. and they're presented with the option for one for help office, two for help desk, three for this, four for that, five, so on and so forth until you're through the end. When they're done, they're going to say, yeah, perfect, that's how we want it. But it's not done there. It's not done there. So you tell them, okay, so that's how your system are going to behave during business hours. How would you like for your system to behave after business hours when you're closed, when there's no one there? Some people would say, just leave the setup the same. Some would say, send it straight to voicemail. Some people have an after hours answering service. Some people want an auto attendant to answer it right away and give them the option to leave a voicemail or an auto attend a voicemail or listen to their hours and location. So whatever they want, we're gonna do that for them. So if they say send it straight to voicemail, we put a note right here in the additional notes. After hours goes straight to voicemail. Straight to voicemail of 101 since he's the main whatever. Some people want an answering service, so put after hours calls are forwarded to an answering service. And then you put the answer, you ask the customer, so what's the number for the answering service? And then tell you 888-913-9425. That's the number for the answering service. So we know after hours it's forwarded to that number. And if they say they want an auto attendant, this is where you put the auto attendant after hours, right over here. So you delete these and you change this. So this is the question. After business hours, when the main phone number rings, how do you want the calls to be handled? So you change this over to a digital receptionist and you put in the options that you want them to have, just like you did with this one. And also, I forgot to change this. You put a person and group of people since the first one is a main ring group. So that's about it for doing a design call. So when you're done, you tell them, okay, Mr. Customer, thank you very much for taking the time out to go through all this information with us. So from here, we'll have this information submitted to our tech department. They'll start working on building your system. We'll have the equipment ordered and sent to your location. As soon as we have an arrival date, we'll have a tech contact you and schedule an install date with you at a time that's more convenient for you. And we're moving on from there. And they're going to be like, okay, perfect, sounds great. If they ask, do you have, sometimes before you get a chance to say that, they say, okay, now that we're done, when will this be installed? Do you think within a week, 2 weeks? So tell them that all varies on when the package is delivered. So reassure them, let them know. We're gonna order the packages today. We're gonna order your equipment today. As soon as the equipment arrives, as soon as we have an arrival date for the equipment, we're gonna schedule with our installers the as soon or the closest possible install date after the equipment arrives. So yeah, I'll just let them know. Because sometimes people want you to tell them, okay, we did the design call. What day is today? Tuesday. They want to know, okay, by Friday, will you guys be installing by Friday? Sir, we can't make no promises. We have to wait until the packages has arrived. So after the package arrived, then we could give you a definite date for install. But before that, we can't. All right. So tell them, and if they insist on having a date, tell them like, okay, today's to them. Give them a week and a half from now. Tell them the latest it's gonna be around that time, but don't give them an exact date. Don't, because if you give them an exact date and that date come, let's say for some reason the package cannot arrive at that time, they had a delay, FedEx had some kind of problem, and it didn't arrive on the day that we told them it was going to be, then they have reason to get upset and complain. We don't want that. So guys, that's basically doing a design call. That's the process of it from start to finish. Well, almost from start to finish. From here, you gotta order your equipment and so, but that's gonna be another video. Um, if you have any question on this, don't be scared to reach out to Josiah, to reach out to me, to reach out to one of the technicians. Reach out to one of the technicians first, though. reach out to one of the technicians, reach out to me, and if we don't know the answer, we're gonna get to Joe, Saya, and we're gonna try to figure it out. But this is how a design call is done, guys. So I hope you guys got something from out of this video. Found something new if you already been doing design calls, and if you find a way to do it more easier, sure, be my guest. But remember, be nice, but stay inside that line of professionalism, right? Be friendly, but draw a line and don't cross it. Okay? That's my advice to you. So, with that said, you guys have a great day and bye.